Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. Wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu amma ba'd. Our Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam said, Inna hab asma'ikum indallah Abdullah wa Abdul Rahman. The names that is most beloved to Allah is Abdullah wa Abdul Rahman. We are called upon today in this city of Chicago and Muslims around the world to be a beacon of light. 1,700,000,000 Muslims around the world. 1/3 of them are in non-Muslim countries. So where do you find them? You find them in France. 10% of the population of France are Muslims. Where do you find them? You find them in Germany. Some 3,000 masjids in Germany. Where do you find them? You find them all throughout Europe. You find them in the United States of America. You find them in Latin America. You find them in Africa. You find them in Asia. You find Muslims all over the world. Right now in Moscow, they are building a masjid that will accommodate 60,000 worshipers. In Birmingham, United Kingdom, last Eid had between 60 and 70,000 Muslims praying Eid. Dr. Ahmed Saka, rahimahullah, he used to tell us that years ago, 3 or 4 people prayed Eid prayer together. I was in Philadelphia last week, and the Imam Asim Abdul Rashid told me that the last Eid in Philadelphia had 50,000 Muslims praying. All over the world, in America, in Paterson, New Jersey, the largest masjid is in Paterson, New Jersey, is a masjid that used to be a synagogue. All over America, Muslims are buying synagogues and churches and turning them to masjids. When someone say Islam against the West, I beg your pardon, I am the West. There seems to be a problem of extremism. But extremism on all sides. Let me give you a couple of examples. Have you ever heard of Andre Carson? He's a congressman, a Muslim congressman of the United States of America. Recently, he was given death threats. And the only reason he was given death threats is because he's a Muslim. 2 weeks ago, we had the first Muslim judge in New York City. She swore in on the Quran. Someone said that you have the audacity to swear in on the Quran, and they sent her death threats. New York City, Astoria, Queens, a Muslim store owner was beaten. And while the man was beating him, he was saying, "Death to the Muslims." Last week I was in Dallas, Texas, in a masjid called Richardson Masjid. A dozen white men with weapons rifles, marching in front of the masjid, intimidating the followers there. Why were they marching? They were rallying, they said, because inside of the masjid they were practicing Sharia. In Iowa, 1 out of 3 Republicans say that Islam ought to be illegal. 59% of the Republicans agree with Trump that Muslims ought not be allowed into America. Not too far from here, Wheaton College, I think 2 weeks ago, an African-American Christian professor, in solidarity with Muslim women, put on hijab and said that she would wear it for 2 weeks until the holiday, Christmas. She said she wanted to do it to see what it looks like to wear hijab in solidarity with Muslim women. She was suspended. And they said that we suspended her not because she wore the scarf, but they suspended her because she had the audacity to say that the God that the Muslims worship and the God that the Christians worship is the same, and they suspended her. All over America, we have violence. We have extremism against Islam. But it seems as if every time it appears as if a Muslim is doing something that's violent, it becomes a bigger issue. I would like to take a moment to show you a clip. There are 2 movies that I recommend you to see, and I want you to write them down. One is called Terror, a T in parentheses, and then the word error. Tremendous film talking about an FBI informant who was a Muslim. And the second HBO called Nuremberg 4. I'm going to play a clip for you, the Nuremberg 4, if the brothers can set it up, inshallah.
Their plan was they're going to create 2 backpacks of bombs, and then they have 2 Stinger anti-aircraft missiles. Hussein was going to provide all the materials and the money, whatever they wanted.
Automatically, I knew this whole thing was manufactured.
It's a small city just soaking, drowning in poverty. Somebody offers you a large chunk of change, well, what do we got to do?
This operation was specifically designed to turn them into terrorists.
You do be what you want to be. You believe what you want to believe. I know my child.
This is not a game. This is real life. How could you prey on your own American people?
Once you see something like that, you can't unsee it.
You must see that movie. You can download it. If you can even watch it tonight, you should do it. Now, brothers and sisters, I discovered something recently. I grew up watching Mission Impossible. Have you ever seen that? Mission Impossible? If you study this case and many cases like it, notice what Allah says in Quran, Ya ayyuhalladhina aminu ijtanibu kathiran min adh-dhann inna ba'da dhann ismun wa la tajassasu. All you who believe, stay away from most cases of suspicion, because suspicion in some cases is a sin. What you saw here is what is called a sting operation. They send in every masjid agents, spies. That's been known for years. So it's one thing to have a spy, but there's another thing to have an agent provocateur. What is an agent provocateur? An agent comes in, a spy comes in, and he watches the people, and he looks at any kind of tendency, and then they target those people, and then they're going to try to make them extremists. Years ago, I'll never forget, I was in my masjid, and a brother came to me, a Muslim brother, and said, Imam Siraj, I know where you can get hand grenades. I said, yeah, and why would I want hand grenades? Agent provocateur. He wanted me to bite, and had I said, okay, where can you get hand grenades? The next thing you know, you'll be reading about Imam Siraj quartered off to jail somewhere. They come in and they look at people. Now, can I be honest? In my masjid in New York City, we have a couple of crazy brothers and sisters. And you can get those folks to do most everything. And that's what they did to these brothers, these 4 Muslim brothers. Some of them weakened their faith. An agent provocateur came and said, let us blow up a temple, let us blow up a church, let us blow up a synagogue. And so it was a sting operation, and these brothers went to jail for 25 years. This case, inshallah, will go to the Supreme Court case. It's the same old principle of coming into the masjid and radicalizing the people in the masjid. I'm going to show you one more clip. Brother, show this clip. Here's a man who was an agent, an informant of the United States government, even came to my masjid. I knew the brother. And again, you should watch this movie. I'm going to show you a small clip if the brothers can play it now.
First saved message. Received March 9th at 4:50 p.m.
Once you send that last text, and want to go like this. I don't know who you've been talking to, but people came to my work today. Don't say feds, don't say police, don't say authority, just say people came to my work today and talked to me. And it's something like, inshallah, I'll see you around.
I don't like the word informant. They want to make a big bus. Just gave me his picture and told me, look, this is POI, person of interest.
The FBI routinely uses informants to criminalize First Amendment protected activity, and this is the same pattern that emerges in case after case after case.
If something happens to me, where does that leave my family?
I'm not in control of this. They're in control of it.
What I want to do in the next few moments, brothers and sisters, is advice from one of your uncles. Think about this ayat, think about these cases, and then we'll conclude. Allah said in Quran, oh, you who believe, Ya ayyuhalladhina aminu ati'u Allah wa ati'u Rasul. O you who believe, obey Allah and obey the Messenger. Uli amr minkum, and those charged with authority among you. In tanazatum fi shay'in farudduhu ila Allah wa rasul in kuntum tu'minuna billah wa yawm al-akhir. And obey those charged with authority. If you differ with those charged with authority, refer it back to Allah and the Messenger if it is you believe in Allah and the last day. You have a right to question authority. The only one that we obey absolutely is Allah and His Messenger. Everyone else, we have a right to ask questions. For instance, I was in South Africa. I'll never forget one morning. I was at the masjid for Fajr prayer. And when they were about to make the salat, they turned out every light in the masjid. And so we prayed the prayer. And when the prayer was over, I talked to the brother next to me. I said, brother, why did they turn out the lights? He says, I don't know. You should ask the imam. So I went to the imam. I said, Imam, I noticed I'm from New York City. And I noticed that before you called the iqamah, you turned out all the lights. Why did you do that? He says, oh, Imam, brother, this is what we do. I said, but why do you do it? He says, that's just the way it is. So we have to be real careful that we are, in fact, obeying Allah and the Messenger. 1,400 years ago, something happened, and I think Allah blessed us for it to happen so that the Prophet ﷺ could teach us a lesson. The Prophet sent an Ansar in head of a delegation and told the people to follow him, obey him, and he went. And when he went on the expedition, he got angry at these people. And he said to them, did the Prophet say, obey me? They said, yes. He said, I order you to go get firewood. And they went and they got the firewood. He said, now I order you to light the fire. And they lit the fire. And then he said, I order you to jump in the fire. And they looked at one another. And they looked at one another and said that we followed the Prophet to stay away from the fire. So as they hesitated, the fire went out and the anger of the man dissipated. And the word got back to the Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him. I want you to listen what the Prophet said. There's 3 versions. 1 Muslim, 2 Bukhari. I say all 3 of them. Number 1, Muslim hadith. The Prophet ﷺ said, لو دخلوها ما خرجوا منها إنما الطاعة في المعروف. Had you gone in that fire, you would not have come out, because obedience is only what is right. Bukhari hadith, a little bit different. لو دخلوها ما خرجوها إلى يوم القيامة. Had you gone in there, you never would have come out until the day of judgment. إنما الأحمل إنما طاعة في المعروف. Obedience is only that which is right and just. And the last one is the scariest of them all. Bukhari hadith. لو دخلوها ما خرجوها عبدا إنما طاعة في المعروف. Had you gone in that fire, you will never have come out, for obedience is only that which is right, just, and fair. I've learned that all this that you see around us is nothing but a game. It's a movie. It ain't real. And you, brothers and sisters, have to be very careful, because it's all an act. How many of you saw the movie Malcolm X? When you have a movie, you have what is called the casting director. And the casting director is the one to make a determination who's going to play what role. So the casting director decided that Denzel Washington would play Malcolm X and not Brad Pitt. It is, when you look at the movie Malcolm X, you say, oh, there's Malcolm. No, that's not Malcolm. It's a movie. And these people, brothers and sisters, I'm telling you, we're dealing with people that's got an agenda, and the agenda is to destroy Islam. There's no question about that. If it's wrong for Muslims to attack innocent people, then it's wrong for non-Muslims to attack Muslims. All of it is unjust. All of it is extreme. So our religion is a religion of balance, but balance is in the eye of the beholder. There was a Muslim living in New York City, a businessman, very successful. He decided that he wanted to run for Congress of the United States of America. Good Muslim brother. I helped him. I took him to different masjid. We raised money. We went on the radio. We went on television. He didn't win, but he did very well. He decided to go to Hajj, to go to Mecca. And when he came back, the first thing that I noticed that he had a beard. And he said to me, Imam Siraj, I used to think that to pray 5 times a day would be extreme. This brother turned his life around. Now he's a fully practicing Muslim. In London, I was there in August. And after me, Dr. Jamal Badawi and another brother, we spoke. In the end, in the question and answer period, a Muslim school teacher stood up, almost with tears in his eyes. He said that we as school teachers must observe the Muslims in our class. And if any Muslim in our class is becoming more righteous, we must report them. Imagine how the students feel, that now they're under suspicion. If now they want to practice their faith, they're under suspicion. No, we're not radicals, but we are not going to let someone define our faith. We're going to be Muslims all the days of our lives. We're going to wear our hijab. We're going to do everything that a Muslim's supposed to do, but we're not going to be extreme. We're going to obey Allah and His Messenger. We're going to be servants of Allah. And that's what it's all about. It's not about killing. It's about being servants of Allah the Almighty. If we do that, Allah will bless us. Ask you a question. How many of you heard of Martin Luther King Jr.? Raise your hand. Did you know that in 1964, he got the Nobel Peace Prize? Who can tell me where was Martin Luther King when he learned that he had won the Nobel Peace Prize? Where was he? Not Washington, D.C., nowhere. Jail, excellent, but wrong. Where was he? What did he say? I tell you where he was. He was in a hospital. He was exhausted. And you know why he was exhausted? He was fighting for his people every day. And you know what his message was? Nonviolence. When Martin Luther King was assassinated in 1968, did you know that there were 110 riots around the country that caused people to lose their lives, lose property, lose businesses? I'm saying to you as I conclude, 13 years in Mecca, Muslims were oppressed. In those 13 years, Allah never, ever mentioned once even about fighting back. Allah was training His ummah training his ummah to be servants of Allah, training them to do what Allah say do, not to fight, not to kill. It wasn't until after 13 years and migrated to Medina, then finally Allah revealed in the Quran, وَقَاتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ الَّذِينَ يُقَاتِلُونَكُمْ وَلَا تَعْتَدُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُعْتَدِينَ. And fight with those who fight against you, but don't go beyond the boundaries. Allah love not those who go beyond the boundaries. The key is that we are servants of Allah and we do what Allah say. We're here in America and we are going to make America better. We're not going to hide our faith. We're going to show the light everywhere. I want to remind you that the Prophet gave an example of what we are in. We're all in the same boat. He mentioned the bad people who try to put a hole in the boat. He said, if you hold his hand, you will save him and you save yourself. If you let him go, you destroy him and you destroy yourself. We want America better. We want America whole. And we are going to stand out and show the light of Islam. And we're going to do it with our patience, our love, and our obedience to Allah and the Messenger. May Allah bless all of you. Assalamu alaikum.